Before we get started, we just want to thank Viltrox for sending us the Weeylite RB9 RGB light for review. But we're not paid to say anything besides our own opinions, and Viltrox does not get to see this video before it is published. Let's get straight to the point. Personally, I didn't know Viltrox makes lights, and I think they are getting more and more products under the company, which is always a great news for consumers. The RB9 RGB light might be one of Viltrox's first lighting products, but you know what? It is very well built and designed. The most important feature of a light, of course, is the brightness. I couldn't find any information on the actual light output of the RB9, but I can tell you that it is very bright at its max brightness. Here's a quick comparison with some other budget mobile lighting. In this comparison, I had all the lights set to their max brightness with the same 5600 Kelvin as the color temperature, because that usually gets a light to output its maximum amount of light. They were all placed at the same distance away from the subject as well. I'll let you be the judge. The second important feature of a light, especially if it is for creative purposes like photography or videography, is the color accuracy. We will be testing the color accuracy of the Weeylite RB9 RGB light by using a color chart, and we'll be looking at the result on the computer. Keep in mind that it is not a scientific test, but I would call it more of a practical test of using this light on set. Let's take a look at the color accuracy of the Weeylite RB9 RGB light. On the screen here, you can see that the RB9 was set to 5600 Kelvin as the color temperature and 100% brightness. And it was filmed with the Blackmagic Pocket Camera 4K. The camera was set also at 5600 Kelvin as the color temperature or the white balance, I should say. And the ISO was at 400. I'm going to turn off the text because it's kind of messing up the chart on the left-hand side. So I'm just going to get rid of the text very quickly. As you can see on the image right now, everything is really desaturated because I didn't change any settings yet. I'm just going to quickly boost up the saturation and just change up the contrast a little bit, and that's it. I'm not going to adjust any color or fix any colors yet. So this is a saturated version of the color chart with the RB9 shining directly toward the color chart. If I isolate, let's say this strip right here, the white one, we can see if it's accurate in terms of white balance or the accuracy of producing pure white light. You can tell that it is quite warm. It's pointing toward the yellow side, and on the RGB parade, you can see that the red channel is really high compared to the blue one. So that's why it gives you this yellow hue kind of white balance here. And I am going to show you another thing. I'm just going to get rid of that masks, and I'm going to isolate just the color palette and show you what I meant by the color of the light being a little bit too warm. So if I isolate this part of the chart right here, and if I boost up the saturation to the max, so everything on the vector scope seems to be shifted to the yellow side. You can tell because the red one is a little bit towards the left, magenta is a little bit towards the left, cyan it's a little bit towards the left, which is yellow, and the green one obviously it's shift towards the yellow side as well. What I can do right now is I'm going to turn on the previous mask and show you what happened if I corrected the white balance. So if I correct the white balance, this line should become a dot pointing at the center of the vector scope, and these guys should line up. So if I fix the color, you see that everything is lined up quite properly on the RGB parade, and this becomes a dot. And you can kind of tell that everything is pure white on the strip now. So if I turn it off, this is before, this is after. So the color or the color accuracy of the light, it's quite warm. It's towards the warm side for sure. If I go back to the color strips, here, everything is pretty accurate once you correct the white balance. So everything, the entire vector scope got shifted towards the right. So if I turn that adjustment off, you see that everything is shifted to the left. And if I turn it on, the correct white balance, everything gets quite accurate right now. We can see that the red channel is probably the most accurate one. And the magenta, it's okay, a little bit towards the blue side. And the blue is actually really off towards the cyan. And cyan, it's towards the blue. So that's kind of awkward. Usually they should be off similarly, not like, oh, one is going towards this one and the other one is going back towards the other one. And the green channel is a little bit off like that. We can kind of tell that the color accuracy of the RB9, it's not as accurate, especially before you correct the white balance, but that's okay because these are probably the first batch of lights that Viltrox produced. So that's okay, let's give them a break. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn off the saturation so it's not as saturated. And I am going to show you guys the skin tone. I'm going to remove the adjustment to fix the white balance. So everything is back to original. And I'm going to turn off this mask. So this is what the light is producing originally. I'm going to set up a new mask to isolate just this skin tone palette. And you can see that the skin tone line again is shifting toward more of the yellow, not really on the actual skin tone line. So if we do the white balance correction again, everything is pretty on point once you fix the white balance. It's not like super everything on the skin tone line, but this is definitely good enough. So if you correct the white balance, everything should look okay. And let me turn off all the masks. You can see that the image looks pretty good after the correct white balance adjustment. So this is after the adjustment and this is before. It's quite warm, to be honest with you. I was kind of surprised too. But when I was using this light to bounce off light from my wall, maybe my wall is sort of like a cooler white tone, so that's why I balanced out the yellow hue, but it looked pretty good when I was bouncing the light off the wall and toward my face. You guys will be able to see it a little bit later. So this is the color accuracy of the Weeylite RB9 RGB light after the correction, before the correction. It's not bad, but you need to correct it to make it a little bit cooler. That's it. Another very impressive feature of the RB9 RGB light is the amount of lighting effects or scenes that it has. I think it has the highest number of scenes among all the lights that we have tested here. It has 29 different lighting effects built in. I would say the most commonly used effects are blink, flame, TV, and bar when you are using the light on set to mimic certain effects on the video. Of course, besides all the lighting effects, you can dial in any color you want on this light in HSI mode. They usually call it the 360-degree color mode, just like how you can see all the colors on the color wheel. If you want to use the RB9 as a key light or an edge light, you can set it to CCT mode and choose any color temperature between 2500 Kelvin and 8500 Kelvin. I will show you how it looks like with some of the most commonly used color temperature. The first one is, of course, daylight balance, which is usually at around 5600 Kelvin. When you are trying to use it as a key light, it will be a little too harsh, but Viltrox has included a rubber diffuser, which softens up the light a lot. Of course, since the light is so bright, another option to use it as a key light is to bounce it off of a white surface, let's say a wall. But keep in mind that it will be a little tricky because white walls are usually not perfect white. If the wall that you are bouncing the light is a little off-white, you might need to adjust the color temperature on the light to compensate that. Another very commonly used color temperature is 3200 Kelvin, which is a much warmer light. I personally wouldn't use this color temperature as a key light unless the scene requires it. I will usually use it as an edge light or hair light at the back, or I will use it if there is a practical light in the scene that motivates this kind of color temperature. One very nice feature you will find on the Weeylite RB9 RGB light is the OLED display at the back. It is very bright and easy to use to see what mode you're in and to change the settings of the light. I personally really like it because it is so much bigger than a lot of display on similar products on the market. Let's talk about the controls of the light. The RB9 RGB light uses an all-button design on the light to change settings. I really like the build quality and the tactile feeling of the buttons. They are very clicky and responsive. Talking about being responsive, the speed of adjusting the settings on the RB9 is very fast. There's almost no lag at all when you press the button to change anything on the light. I think that is a great thing because sometimes some lights are so slow that you don't even know if the settings are actually changing or not, especially on lights that don't even have a display. Another very cool way to control the Weeylite RB9 RGB light is by using the Weeylite app on your smart devices. I think this is a very common feature of small lights nowadays. It uses Bluetooth connection to change the settings or group multiple lights without having to do it manually on the actual light. This is a very handy feature, especially if you have multiple RB9 set up on set to create special effects, let's say in a music video. It is also very helpful when you have the RB9 mounted somewhere that is hard to reach to adjust the settings. Personally, I don't use apps to control my gear that much because I find it a little faster to do it on the actual equipment, but for some scenarios, I will use the app. Talking about apps or software, I was very surprised to find out that you can actually plug in the RB9 RGB light into your computer to update the firmware. Maybe it's just me, but I would never thought of updating a light. But I'm very happy to see this because that means they can add in more features or lighting effects on the RB9 in the future. Another pretty cool feature that utilizes the USB-C port on the RB9 is pretty unique. Oh, I almost forgot to mention. Yes, the RB9 uses USB-C to charge. Thank you. Thank you for not using micro USB port anymore. The cool feature is actually using the RB9 as a power bank. Yes, you heard me right. This is also a power bank with 3000 milliamp power. So you can use it to charge your other gear, including some cameras like my Fujifilm X-S10, which is pretty cool. In order to get into power bank mode, you will have to press and hold the mode button and then turn on the light. You will see a little plug icon showing up on the display, and now you can use a USB-C cable to charge other devices using the built-in battery. Talking about battery, Viltrox claims that the RB9 RGB light will last about 2 hours at its full brightness, and based on our experience with the light, the promise is kept pretty well. If you set the brightness to less than 100%, it will last for a long time, so don't worry. Power bank, long-lasting battery. Again, just like what I mentioned in my other videos, these lights are getting better and better at becoming a camping light. Why not, right? Let's talk about the build quality of the Weeylite RB9 RGB light. It is very solid. The main frame of the light is made out of metal, and you can definitely tell that it is rugged because you can feel the weight when you are holding the light. I'm not too worried about the durability of the light, but keep in mind that it is not waterproof. Besides getting the light and the diffuser in the box, they have also included a pouch, a little tripod, a phone mount, and a 1/4-22 cold shoe adapter. So you can have a super minimal mobile video setup with a powerful light. It is very nice of them including all the extra accessories. One thing I think they can improve on is the phone mount. Yes, you can use it with a big phone like my iPhone 11 Pro Max, but if you mount the RB9 light at the top of the setup, it will easily tip over to the back because it is too heavy. I thought I was going to snap the phone mount when it first happened. I would say either use a more rugged material for the phone mount or maybe just get rid of the hinge completely. But the good thing is the tripod is definitely solid enough to support the whole setup. That's it. Those are my thoughts on the Viltrox Weeylite RB9 RGB light. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I think Viltrox is definitely going toward the right direction of having more product lines like lights and camera lenses. I'm definitely impressed by the RB9 RGB light, especially when it is just the beginning for Viltrox. Definitely keep up the good work. It is amazing how we can have such a powerful light that fits into our pocket. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.